Om Swastiastu. Well, before we start the presentation, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Luh Feni Lestari and my friend.
My name is Pande Putu Vania Dharmapatni.
In this occasion, we would like to present about Theory of Moral Development by Kohlberg. Well, without any further ado, let's get started. Well, Kohlberg's theory of moral development is a theory that focuses on how children develop morality and moral reasoning. Kohlberg's theory suggests that moral development occurs on a series of 6 stages. The theory also suggests that moral logic is primarily focused on seeking and maintaining justice. Next slide. Then, how Kohlberg developed his theory? So, Kohlberg based his theory on a series of moral dilemmas presented to his study subjects. Participants were also interviewed to determine the reasoning behind their judgment in each scenario. One example was Haynes steal the drug. In this scenario, Haynes has a wife who is hospitalized with cancer. According to the doctor, there is only one drug that can save her. And the drug was just discovered by a pharmacy, and the pharmacies sell the drug at a price 10 times at the initial capital. And then poor Haynes went to everyone to borrow money, but he only got it for $1,000. Meanwhile, the drug cost $2,000. He tried to negotiate with the pharmacies for a lower price or to be extend credit to pay for it over time. But the pharmacies refused to sell it for any less or to accept partial payments. Rebuffed, Haynes instead broke into the pharmacy and stole the drug to save his wife. And then Kohlberg asked, should the husband have done that? Well, Kohlberg was not interested in the answer to whether Haynes was wrong or right, but in the reasoning for each participant decisions. He then declassified the reasoning into the stages of his theory of moral development. Therefore, he divided the theory of moral development into 3 levels. And these 3 levels will be presented by my friend. Vania, time is yours.
Okay, now I would like to present it about the level of. There are 3 levels of moral development. Level 1 is pre-conventional level. At this level, morality is externally controlled. Rules imposed by authority figure are conformed to in order to avoid punishment or receive rewards. This perspective involves the idea that what is right is what can get away with or what is personally satisfying. This level has two stages. Stage 1, obedience and punishment. On stage 1, we make moral judgment based on obedience. Behavior is determined by consequences. The individual will obey in order to avoid punishment. For the example, at this stage, a person has a reason to act something or not because to avoid punishment. For example, when a person does not run a red light, he does so as not to be chased by a police officer and ticketed. At stage 2, self-interest. We are motivated by self-interest. Behavior is determined again by consequences. The individual focuses on receiving reward or satisfying personal needs. For example, a person will think before doing something like, what is it for me? Or, okay, I'll help him because he owns a Chinese restaurant. Next is level 2, is conventional level. At this level, conformity to social rules remain important to the individual. However, the emphasis shifts from self-interest to relationship with other people and social systems. The individuals strive to support rules that are set forth by others such as parents, peers, and the government in order to win their approval or to maintain social order. The stage has two levels. The next stage is interpersonal accord and conformity. Interpersonal accord and conformity guide our moral judgment. Behavior is determined by social approval. The individual wants to maintain or win the affection and approval of others by being a good person. For the example, he chose not to fight because it is not good and good people don't do it. That's what happened at this stage. Stage 4, authority and maintaining social order. We value authority and want to maintain social order. Social rules and laws determine behavior. The individual now takes into consideration a larger perspective, that of societal laws. Moral decision making become more than consideration of close ties to others. The individual believes that rules and law maintain social order that is worth preserving. For example, a class president interrupted his friend who was arguing because he thought the rules had to be enforced and if no one obeyed, then things would get messy. Therefore, the rule must always be obeyed to provide comfort for everyone. And last level is post-conventional level. At the last level, the individual moves beyond the perspective of his or her own society. Morality is defined in terms of abstract principles and values that apply to all situations and societies. The individual attempt to take the perspective of all individuals. At stage 5, social contract, we understand rules as a social contract as opposed to a strict order. Individuals' rights determine behavior. The individual views laws and rules are flexible for improving human purpose. That is, given the right situation, there are exceptions to rules. When laws are not consistent with individual rights and the interests of the majority, they do not bring about good for people and alternatives should be considered. For example, someone will think that nothing is absolute or certain when seeing a conflict or case. Individual right must be seen in conjunction with existing law. Someone will think that stealing so as not to starve to death is different from stealing to be rich. And the last stage is universal ethical principle. We are guided by universal ethical principles. According to Kohlberg, this is the highest stage of functioning. However, he claimed that some individuals will never reach this level. At this stage, the appropriate action is determined by one's self-chosen ethical principle of conscience. Those principles are abstract and universal in application. This type of reasoning involves taking the perspective of every person or group that could potentially be affected by decision. For example, someone will do what he thinks is right even though it is actually against the existing law. A grandfather who steals medicines from a pharmacy to save his sick grandson. Okay, that's about my presentation. Will be continued by my friend. Time is yours, Fanny.
Thank you for your time that is given to me. Well, the conclusion is in accordance with Kohlberg's theoretical order of stages, studies have revealed that comprehension of the stage is cumulative. For example, if a person understands stage 3, he or she understands the lower stages, but not necessarily the higher stages. And comprehension of higher stages is increasingly difficult. Moreover, age trends in moral development have received cross-cultural support. And lastly, data support the claim that every individual progresses through the same sequence of development. However, the rates of development will vary. Well, I think that's all from our presentation. Thank you very much for the attention. Om Santi Santi Santi.